Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as IvyWinter. Thank you for joining me for another Disney video. Today we have a special guest. It's my friend Jimmy from Critical Reviews. And we have a really good topic today that came from, well, Jimmy just went on a trip and we were talking about that. And I realized, it would be a great opportunity to compare solo trips because you just went solo to Disneyland, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And it was a few weeks ago, and I still yearn for it desperately. But that's just how these things go.
We all do these days, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
but
totally.
Before we dive into it, tell everybody a little bit about Critical Reviews.
Sure, yeah. Well, I like to, and you said it best, I think, recently, Christine, but you said my channel is well-rounded, and I think that's a great way of putting it. And I like to talk about everything in entertainment, movies, games, and theme parks when I get the chance to go to them. And luckily, I got the chance to go to both Disney World and Disneyland pretty recently. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of have this fun perspective of that. But I did go, like we talked about before, Disneyland solo. And I'm working on the vlogs for that right now. And I can't believe how much footage I actually recorded. So I have to go back and cut through all that. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Because when you go alone to a park, you can film a lot, as I'm sure you know.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I fill in, like, when I'm feeling lonely, I'm just like, I'll just talk to the camera.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Yeah, I'm like, these are my friends right here. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's part of, you definitely get more footage because, one, like, I feel like you don't want to be as intrusive with vlogging when you're with people. But also, on the flip side, you have that opportunity to just, like, take your B-roll and, like, do whatever you're planning on doing without worrying like, oh, am I holding people up or, all of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But what we're going to talk about today is the real differences between going solo to Disney World versus Disneyland. Because while there's plenty of things that are similar, there's quite a lot of things that are pretty different, and you might want to consider in your planning if you're thinking of doing both. I don't know. So, yeah, I've never done Disneyland solo. So I've only done Disney World solo. So that's why this is, like, very intriguing to me because that's something I definitely want to do one day.
You'd crush it. You'd do so well. You'd be fine. You'd be just fine.
I mean, I think one of the things that you had mentioned when we were talking prior to this was just the difference in size. Between Disney World and Disneyland, and how, like, that definitely affects just your planning. I mean, I think it affects planning if you're in a group or not, but solo for sure, because obviously, getting across, like, Disney World as one person and trying to figure that out can be really daunting.
I think so.
So what was, like, Disneyland for you? Did you feel like it was, like, much easier?
Yeah, and I have to have the caveat here in that the last few times I've been to Disneyland, I think almost every time I've been there, I've stayed on property. Okay. And you don't have to do that at Disneyland. You don't have to do that at Walt Disney World. But I think at Disneyland, you have more options to potentially stay off property because off property is like a block, like one physical block. Right. So, like, it's not that far. But I liked staying on property because I stayed at the Disneyland Hotel this time. Oh. And so basically you walk out and you walk to the parks, and on the way to the parks, you're walking in downtown Disney. Mm-hmm. So it's just like shops and eateries and stuff like that. So you're just kind of like in that Disney bubble, even though, like, that if you threw a rock one way or another, it might hit like an actual house or a gas station or something. But yeah, the size of it is so nice because, like, if you want to move from park to park, you really get, I think, the most bang for your buck out of the park hopper here, because it is, like, not even across the street to get from Disneyland to Disney's California Adventure. Like, it's just like you just walk across this kind of like open little area and you're there. So you can really do this thing where you're in one park, book a fast pass for another, and then just, like, go over there, and then you can just ping pong the whole day if you want to.
Which I feel like solo is so much easier, like,
oh yeah, for sure,
because you can, I mean, it's that idea of, like, you can do whatever you want whenever you want. And that's definitely, like, ping pong like that is not something you can do in Disney World.
No, not even by yourself. Because,
no.
Like, if you're like, I'm starting in Animal Kingdom, and you're like, but I want to go to Epcot, but I want to come back to Animal Kingdom. You're like, that's your day. Like, it's not like, I'll go there and then I'll go there.
I feel like in Disney World you need to think about efficiency
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's so large. So it wouldn't make sense to waste your travel time to go back and forth between parks. I feel like the only time that like I would say, okay, this makes sense is like obviously if you're getting a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance, right? Like,
yes,
because you have to be there early, and so you might not necessarily want to like stay in Hollywood Studios all day. So I totally get. But even then, you might be like, well, then I'm just gonna go to Epcot because that's the closest.
Yeah,
you're,
for sure.
You're planning around distance, and it's not about like even if I really wanted to go to Animal Kingdom, I might be like, well, that's a bit too far. Like I don't know if I want to do that.
Oh, totally. Yeah, for sure. We need Skyliners everywhere. They go down in thunderstorms, so it's like we need to do some sort of like subway Skyliner, but there's a swamp, so it's kind of hard to do it. But,
so how much do you think in a day, like was there a day where you did feel like you went back and forth between the two parks a lot?
I was there for 2 days, and I just did everything. So I used that ability to go back and forth as much as possible, and I felt like I got so
How much do you think
done,
you did
Christine.
in like a day? Like how many times do you think you went back and forth?
I probably ping-ponged back and forth at least 2 or 3 times a day, roughly, maybe, depending. Yeah. And it was really a lot of like, what kind of fast passes could I get? And what was it looking like? And then also, like, even though I didn't want to, kind of taking a little bit of a midday break just because I could, and it's easier there.
So close,
because you just walk down the street and you're like, oh, I'm back at my hotel, as opposed to being like, all right, it's going to take me, 20 to 45 minutes to get back to my hotel. I rest there for a few hours and then come back. That's a huge chunk of your day. Here you could do that and it'd be done in like 2 hours, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm jealous of that because I feel like
it's nice.
My midday breaks in Disney World sometimes are not going all the way back to the hotel, even if I want to. It'll just be like, oh, I'll go out of the park and go to a nearby resort. But that, that's only somewhat of a break. It's not the same as being able to like crawl into bed and take a nap or like chill by a pool, Yeah, for sure. And like that's why, even though like I love it for other reasons, if you can stay at Disney's Grand Californian Hotel, like because it's like attached to California Adventure. Yeah. Like that's just like you gotta. It's oh my gosh, like it's so nice. You're just like, I'm just gonna take a break. Just walk out of the park and you're in your hotel. You're like, oh, here I am. Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So
I mean,
nice.
I've only stayed in Disneyland Hotel for I think we did one night. And it was because a friend of Rob and I's was a cast member, so he hooked us up with a discount because the one thing I will say about Disneyland hotels is they are far more expensive.
It's ridiculous, and I tried to edge my way into the special like Adventureland like signature suite, and they were like, if you were staying here for one night, maybe, but they're like, because you're staying here for 2 nights, you can't. I'm like, I tried, but they bumped me up to a premium view, so I had a really cool view of the pools and Tango Terrace and Trader Sam's.
Oh my gosh, you're making me like right now. I'm just like, oh my god, I need to plan a solo trip. This sounds so good.
Yes, oh my gosh, yeah, for sure. It was very cool. But then again, I was like, it would have been nice to have at least one other person, but still, it was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess part of the fact that Disney World is so big is that you have to think about transportation, and in a very different sort of way. Whereas Disneyland, I feel like you just use your own 2 feet to get there.
Yeah, for sure. So there is a monorail that you can use if you're staying in the resorts that's a little more effective, where you can basically just get on it and it'll bypass having to walk down the rest of downtown Disney, and it just brings you into Disneyland or Magic Kingdom for people who they can't make the distinction. So that's kind of nice if you're like, I don't want to walk all the way back. And I used that one of the days that I was coming back from like a midday break. I was like, and I walked past it because it was so close to my hotel. I was like, oh wait, it's back there. So I had to like turn around and like go back. I'm like, oh wow. So that's kind of the only transportation you can use effectively.
And do you feel like it's even worth it? Because I remember like not even getting on it. I felt like walking was fine.
Walking is fine. It'll be it might shave off a little time, but it's very dependent on when you actually get on the monorail. So that's the caveat there too. Walking is totally fine, and I think especially if you're like someone who might stop for like a snack at like Starbucks or something, you're probably gonna walk anyway.
I feel like in Disney World, to that point, like you can't walk anywhere. So
no, you like the closest maybe is like Epcot to Hollywood Studios.
Which is a nice walk, but it's long still.
Yeah.
It's about 20 minutes if you're walking at like a decent pace. Longer if you have I'm sure like kids in tow and all of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like as one person, I can't justify like the minivans because they're a flat fee.
Way.
And totally makes sense for like a family of 5 or whatever. Like, or you're a group of people and you're going to split the cost because it's like $20, I think, something like that.
It's 25, I thought.
Yeah.
Or something.
So I feel like that's a transportation I can't even take advantage of because it does not make any sense. Like, you're better off just taking an Uber if you really want to like do that. And then I don't drive, so I feel like I'm definitely, like, I feel very beholden to, you know, the buses and all of that. But, you know, you do have to build that into your day. And then I do, sometimes, it's funny. I feel like for the most part, I've been so used to going solo that I don't feel weird about it. The one time I feel kind of weird is when I'm waiting in line for a bus or like I'm sitting on a bus alone. Because I feel like it's more obvious that I'm by myself than like at any other point in my vacation. Except I guess maybe when you're eating. But I feel like people are so into their meals and what's going on, they don't care. But when you're sitting on a bus and you're just chilling by yourself on the phone, you're just like, I feel really awkward right now. And like at least you don't have to deal with that in Disneyland like at all.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. Or sitting like when you get on the train and there's like a family of 2 or 3 and you're like looking for like one little spot and you're just like, and they're like, they kind of look at you like, are you the only one here? And you're like, yes, I am. Like, like just for one, please. Which it's funny that you bring up the eating thing because I was able to snag like a super early walk-in to Blue Bayou and they put me at a 4-top, so like for 4 people.
Oh gosh.
And I was sitting right next to the water and I was like looking around and there wasn't a ton of people there, so I was like, okay, but I felt kind of weird. So what I did is I made a game of just waving at the people going by in Pirates of the Caribbean. And then my strike rate was like 50%, and by 50% I mean like in every other boat I might get one person.
Right.
But I would like wave to them, and then if they would wave back, I would jokingly throw a roll to them. And it was very fun. So I tried to make it fun, even if there were like weird situations where I was like kind of sitting by myself. I'm like, all right, who can we pull into this? Like, I was like, come on, who wants to join me? So that's just kind of my prerogative.
Yeah. And then like in general, I feel like Disneyland is just more solo friendly, and I feel like part of that is because it is smack in the middle of a city and it is very much a locals park, and I'm sure there's a lot of locals who are just like if I lived around there, I would just be like, cool, I'm just gonna go to the parks on Saturday for the day by myself. I think that's a very normal thing to do there, whereas I feel like Disney World is the big trip, and for some people like it's the only time they go or they don't go very often, and so they think it's weird when somebody goes alone because you're thinking of taking this trip with the whole family or a big group of friends. Did you feel that when you were at Disneyland? Did you feel like it was a lot easier solo?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And you make a good point because I heard about this guy who's gone there for like multiple years in a row every day.
Yes.
And, like,
he keeps like
that
setting
kind of
records.
Yeah, and that stuff isn't like weird there. Like if you did that at Walt Disney World, that would be impressive. Like if you weren't working there, because it'd be like you don't just drive in every day and like have a regular job. But yeah, I definitely felt that. And I noticed a lot of just not even singles, but like smaller groups. It'd be like maybe 2, maybe 3. Because in Disney World, you get that kind of 5, 10, 12 people groups a lot. But here, I didn't really get that. It was a lot of smaller crews, and it made it a lot less, I think, intimidating. So if you're kind of like on the fence about doing anything kind of by yourself at either of these places, Disneyland, I think, is just a little less jarring because of that fact. Because like you said, there's so many locals. It feels less of like, this was the one chance we got to go to Walt Disney World.
Right.
It's like, oh no, we go to Disneyland like once every couple of weeks, would you say? Like there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So
I know
it's
people
not as
who
big
like
of a deal.
who like grew up over there and were like, yeah, in high school you would like go on a date to Disneyland. Like that was what
That's
you
my
did.
dream.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I would love it. Just be like, yeah, do you want to meet over like Matterhorn or something? Like, you know, like.
So what you're basically saying is me going to Disney World solo first was me just like throwing myself into the pool.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were in the deep end for sure. Yeah. I think that if you can conquer Walt Disney World by yourself and you feel comfortable with that, this is gonna be a literal walk in the park. It is so much more friendly, and we didn't even talk about like the single rider stuff, which they have so much more of over there too,
Way
as opposed
more.
to Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World has 3
Yeah,
right now as of this
Expedition
recording, maybe
Everest,
4.
Test Track, and
Rockin' and
Rockin'.
Smugglers maybe just got it.
Yeah, and then Flight of Passage, no, like yes and no. It was supposed to.
Yeah.
Now you can only basically you have to go through most of the line until that last section, and then they'll ask if you're a single rider, and then put you ahead of everybody.
That defeats the purpose.
But yes, I mean, when you think about it, there really isn't a lot of options there.
Yeah, I will say this though, I got in one bad single rider line over in Disneyland, which was Smuggler's Run, and I stood there for 10 or 15 minutes, and it wasn't moving, and I was like, okay, I've done this ride, I don't need to do this right now.
Right.
So I left it. But the other ones, which I use the most, for goodness sakes, if you go there, and don't be stupid like Jimmy a few years ago. I waited in line for Radiator Springs for 2 hours with my friend, because we had one day there, and I was like, I really want to do this ride. Just for the love of goodness, go in the single rider line. Just go. I walked on that ride maybe 4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
I walked on
when
it.
Peter and I went to Disneyland, that's what we did. Because I was like, you got to go on this ride. You're gonna really love it, but we're gonna do single rider. And then sure enough, we ended up in the same car, just
Yep.
one row behind the other. And I want to say the wait was something over 2 hours, and I think we got on 15 minutes. So
yeah, the line was consistently an hour or 90 minutes while I was there, and I was looking at it, I'm thinking and it's not like when you wait for these rides, you're like, oh, Radiator Springs, this must be a 10-minute ride. Mm-hmm. It's not a 10-minute ride. It's not. You're not like, oh, this is enough bang for my buck. It's like Test Track. It's sizable, but it's not oh, cool, I'm waiting for this.
It's better than Test Track though.
Also, if you're gonna ride single rider on Splash Mountain, which I did, I don't know if they have a single rider line, but they will put you in the middle of the boat. So just keep in mind, I don't know if it's a weight thing. They want to put you in row 3. So yeah, I was like, can I sit in the back? They're like, sorry, you have to sit in row 3. I'm like,
that's
okay.
probably what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it's weird. They have it single file though, so if you're not used to that, Disney's side by or Walt Disney World side by side, this one's
yeah, yeah, it's weird seats comparatively.
Very weird seats, and no restraints. So you don't do anything stupid. Just sit there and be nice and quiet. I loved it though. There was so much to do, and it felt like my days were so full. Where Walt Disney World days are so full as well, but with if I got 2 parks in Walt Disney World in a day, I was like, that's pretty good.
Right.
But there's that stupid Disney brain where I'm like, I could have done 3, but here at Disneyland you're like, nope, you stayed way late, and you're walking through downtown Disney, and you could do stuff there too if you wanted to. It's just it's all right there.
Yeah,
So nice.
Definitely I feel an advantage as one person for sure. Oh man, now in my brain I'm just gotta do it. Maybe I'll do it after the whole Marvel Academy thing opens.
I saw all that, and that's the California Adventure is now Hollywood Studios plus Epcot, because they have the big
they do food and
wine.
wine. Yep.
And I had some of the greatest and some of the worst, well, not the worst food, but I had some amazing shrimp over there.
Okay.
And I saw all these construction walls up, and I was like, right now that place is a little bit not as bad as Epcot, but if you're trying to navigate right now, it's really weird to try to get to Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians of the Galaxy is tucked away, and there's only one road that goes to it, and you're like, how do I get here? That's California Adventure's coming into its own.
Yeah.
And it's had a big change, and I really like that park now. There's a lot to
love that park
about it.
I really do. The vibe there is different, and it's super fun, and I
love
really enjoy it.
The Grizzly Peak area alone.
Yeah, and Carthay Circle. I don't know if you've eaten there. So good.
I have. It's
so good.
Yeah, I can't. Our server was a sommelier and stuff. I was like, you're too much for us. I had a really good steak there. And that was a few years ago, but I love Carthay Circle. Carthay Circle and Blue Bayou. Those are probably the 2 tops for me anyway when I'm there. Blue Bayou is just so cool. And again, don't feel weird about eating alone there. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say in both coasts is just like the cast members. First of all, they've seen plenty of solo people, Disneyland especially, but even in Disney World, I feel like they're getting more used to it.
Yes.
When I was at Tiffin's, 2 tables over was another woman sitting by herself, glass of wine, book, was just chilling. And
amazing.
Yeah, so they're used to it. They know how to strike up conversation. If you want to do that, they will leave you alone if you want that too. Like they're really good about that. And I feel like I've had like the best conversations with cast members when I'm dining alone because they spend a little bit more time, chatting with you. So it's nice.
Yeah, I say the pictures where you're on a ride by yourself to me are the most hilarious.
Oh yeah,
because they're so good. I love. I
also love I know all the cameras in Disney World, so it's funny when I get on and I'll like make a face, but I'm with other people. So like Space Mountain, right? It's 3 seats that get the photo together at Disney World. And I love making a face and then seeing the people that were on the vehicle with me look at the photo and be like, what the
Yep. I'm glad you brought up Space Mountain specifically, and it was in one of the videos I did recently, but I was on it and I had brought friends, but I was in the third car of like the first section. So there was these 2 people in front of me and I knew where it was coming, so I like to do this thing called the Tomorrowland Creeper. And I like to put like my hood up when I'm on the People Mover or on Space Mountain, and especially so I came around the corner, so I look like Emperor Palpatine. So I was like,
got it.
And this lady, she wasn't looking the right way; she was looking the opposite way. So like it was just her hair, but she like tapped her. She like looked at it, laughed, like tapped her magic band, and like because she like saw me, and then I was like, is she gonna like buy that picture?
Maybe.
Like I was like,
she shared all her friends out. They look at this guy.
They're like, look at this weirdo, and I have a ball. Like I love like where I know the pictures are. I'm like, I'm not gonna get these. Like,
same.
But at Disneyland, I have them because it was part of the whole package.
Yeah,
I was like,
pretty awesome.
I'm getting them.
Yeah.
I love doing the pictures. You're right. Solo pictures, man, hanging on the mantle.
Right?
Just hanging
just
up
you
there,
everywhere
for sure.
in your house.
Yeah, I was trying to think because I feel like this is almost like an anti like going solo to Walt Disney World video, and it is not. I don't think it just to me it just seems so much more intimidating because there's so much more. To consider.
I mean, I have the most amazing time at Disney World alone, and I think that there's a lot. Like, I think there are certain parks that are a little, I don't know, just work a bit better. Like Epcot and Animal Kingdom, I think, are 2 of my favorites to be in alone because they're big and expansive, and you can explore them. And there's something nice about doing that on your own. So I definitely, yeah. This isn't saying like, I mean, obviously my whole channel is about going to Disney World solo.
She's like, no, it's changing to Disneyland, everybody. Mr. Toads,
but
let's go.
I think if there's one thing to take away from all of this is like, if you haven't done either and you're nervous, Disneyland might be the one you want to start with.
Basically what we're trying to provide here, that's one thing I love about your channel, is that you're kind of helping people who maybe are on the edge about that. They're not sure if they could go alone, and you're kind of saying like, yeah, you totally can. I think that this is just like, if you think you could do Walt Disney World, I'm pretty positive you could do Disneyland.
Yeah.
Like, not even a question. And there's just so many options, and you can make more mistakes in Disneyland, like, because if you do, you're like, okay, that only ate up a few minutes and I can still get to the other park or whatever. Like in Walt Disney World, I feel like if you make a few decent sized, again, mistakes, you're like, my day, like, there it goes. You're like, bye day. I looked it up because I really wanted to be thorough here. The single rider lines at Disneyland, just quickly, Space Mountain, I forgot about this. One of my favorites, Matterhorn Bobsleds, has a single rider line, which is pretty great. Splash Mountain actually has one, so keep that in mind. And then Indiana Jones, like we talked about before. Star Tours, which I did not do because I was like, it's Star Tours. Smuggler's Run, and then Incredicoaster's on there too, and Radiator Springs Racers, like 8? At the very least. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if Soarin' has it occasionally too, which I love, and it was Soarin' over California right now when I was there. That is the way it ought to be.
Also
like,
disagree, man.
You don't like, that's okay. That's okay. You can disagree with it. I mean, I love a bendy Eiffel Tower as much as the next person. But somebody, by the way, explained to me recently that the newer version was based on like a bunch of the Disney like animated films, and they're like, oh, you go to the Serengeti because of Lion King, and then you go to Taj Mahal because of Aladdin or something. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I don't know if I believe it, but sure.
I don't know if I believe it either.
I was like, that's exactly. But yeah, 8 right now. 8 that I count at least.
So we're saying Disney World has like what, 3, maybe 4 now with Smuggler's Run.
4, yeah, Smuggler's Run, and I don't know if Mickey and Minnie's will ever do that. I don't know if the new rides, how some of that stuff works. And eventually, I don't know, it'll be forever before Rise maybe goes into standby, but I wonder if they'll ever do single rider. Yeah, I could see them trying to fill it. When I was there, they were bringing people out of the line in smaller groups for Rise to be like, oh, do you have like any solo sympathizers? And I was like, me. I'm like, that's me. Nice. Yeah, no, so lots of options there if you're kind of like, if you want to get a lot done. Again, that's my mentality when I'm there, is I try to just like make my days super long. Yeah. And Disneyland, you can do that, and when you're about to crash, you're like, I just have to walk 10 minutes.
I know,
back.
Man, there's nothing worse than being done at the end of the day and being like, I gotta go all the way back to my hotel. Yeah. I did like an after-hours solo at Hollywood Studios. Wrapped up at like midnight or 12:30 or something like that, and then didn't get into my room until like 1:15, and I was like, I am dead.
That is intense. Yeah. Did you do that recently?
I did that last year for the 30th anniversary. So it was that night they had a special 30th anniversary after hours.
Yeah, I was waiting for all the Toy Story and Star Wars stuff to get done before I was like, they'll start doing after hours here, because we did after hours at Animal Kingdom, which is amazing and everybody should do. But afterwards, my friends were like, we are dead.
Yeah, and I'm like, Animal Kingdom was such a big park too, so I can't even imagine like bouncing all over the place. But my
sister and I still got up at like 4 to go on Rise, so you just got to do these things. You just gotta get there. You gotta make it worth it. It's like it'll kill you, but yeah. Well, so good.
Hopefully this comparison helped anyone who's thinking about planning a solo trip, or maybe you've already done one park and you're interested in doing the other, so you kind of get what some of those differences are. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for being a part of this video. If you want to check out Critical Reviews, I will put the link to his channel below. You definitely should. I love it because you cover like movies and video games and all these other geeky things that I love. So I love checking it out. So everyone else should too.
Well, thank you.
If you like this video, then like it. If you like me, you should subscribe because I make videos every single week. I hope everyone is safe and healthy and doing good out there. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh no, I lost you.
Did we lose her? Oh. We're still good. Hello? Did I lose you for a second? I'm back. It's right. I'm still recording.
Just like, no, I disagree.
No, I'm done with this. No.